It's really a shame that the last season of Snowfall was so uneven and all over the place because they are firing on all cylinders and could be, based on the writing before that season and in this season, up there with the annals of the Breaking Bads. I'm gonna give you my thoughts and reactions to the latest episode right after the jump. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you'll be among the first to know. 8th episode. We're coming into that finale, folks. This one was called The Ballad of the Bear. And for those a little inside baseball, Joseph, is the director of this episode. So while he is no longer a part of this, he still is. You can feel his spirit, his essence. This episode picks up right after after the funeral of the repass, which is important because in that episode, Franklin whispered to Gustavo, "Hey, meet me at the repass. I got something for you." And so he does. Gustavo goes to the repass armed. He's not a dummy, but he goes armed to the repass. And the repass feels like, if anybody's ever been to a black person's repass, this is authentic. You got people with airbrush shirts on, you in the backyard. This just felt, everything about that felt right. Gustavo meets up with Franklin. Franklin's like, "Yo, I got your passports and I got your money. We can make this happen. You got to give me Teddy." And Gustavo's like, "All right, cool. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard to do to get him out, but I think we can make this happen." Gustavo also asks for if Franklin still has his plane, which comes in a little bit later. It's all a part of the setup. Gustavo's thinking long term. While at the repass, Franklin is sitting there looking at his old neighbor, looking at his old Boo Thing's house, that now was a crackhead, and then looking at his old Boo Thing's house, and he just remembers a thing that he said to her. And he said that the only real job that he has in life is protecting the ones he loves, which he is more than likely has failed at. So, but he is now thinking about V in his kid. That's who he has to protect, and his mom to an extent. But that is where his head is at. While at the repass, after some sort of self-reflecting and gaming herself up in the mirror, she finally goes to talk to Franklin and says, "All right, look, you want to talk? Let's talk." And he's like, "All right, cool. Let's meet after with Gustavo, and we can get this all set up." And Louis is like, "I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this to get from up under Teddy." Like, which long term we'll think about. I still don't trust Louis. I feel like, yes, her mission is to get up from under Louis, but I think it is also still just get up from under anybody. She wants to be, her whole thing is always to be her own boss, and I feel like that is still her play while she's pitting these men against each other. Teddy meets with the CIA handler, and they're like, "Look, we're going to give you the blue badge back, but we're going to still sever ties, but we're going to give you the blue badge back if you can give us the money, wire us the money, and give us the assets. And then we'll let you go, and bygones be bygones." So then Uso meets back up with Tony and the DEA, the rest of the DEA, and Tony lets him know that, "Hey, look, we're going to put Amanda with you when you go do this drug sell, or this drug exchange." And he's like, "Why?" He's like, "That's going to be a rat's eye," even though Gustavo sort of knew this was going to happen. But Tony's like, "I don't trust you. Like, you've been off." Most people at this point in time are asking questions about where they're going to be put, where they're going to see this piece, are they going to be able to do that? And you have just been calm as all get out, and that makes me nervous. That makes my stomach turn a little bit. I think consistently throughout this episode and with this scene, you can see that Gustavo is not doing a very good job of keeping the monotony and mundane way that he always did things the same. And he's giving sort of red flags to people who have watched his behavior alter. And it is caused for alarm. And it does so again in the back half of this episode. In a cool shot, it's kind of almost like a death row image. You got Louis in the foreground, then keep panning out to Franklin, and then you see Gustavo, but they're all in this boardroom at Louis' place. Good job, where Louis calls Teddy and says, like, "I got him. I think I can set this all up for you." But I need a time and a place to make this happen. And Teddy names the location, and he says that you can have one person with you. If you have anybody else, I'm going to feel like it's a double cross. So the game's afoot. Everything is set to make this happen. Gustavo's got to handle the business with making the DA still feel like the drug transaction is happening, but then he has to get over to Teddy to sort of be the backup for him um, when he is taking Franklin, when Louis sets Franklin up for the trap. So everything is contingent on everything, and which is sort of the tense part of this episode. While it's not as intense as the putting Louis in distress episode that happened a few back, it is still very great writing, and it's kind of like, oh crap, this plan has to go pitch perfect to work, and if it doesn't, oh boy. And oh boy, it does not. So the next morning, Gustavo is saying sort of goodbye to his girl and their kids. They're playing Star Wars, which puts the timing of the year more into play. But they're playing Star Wars, the kids are. Gustavo takes his wrestling mask and sort of says, hey, when I had these on, when I was a luchador, when I used to be a wrestler, I felt like nobody could stop me. I had so much strength and power. I'm going to give these to you, and you can wear them when you feel you need to have strength and power. Then says goodbye to his girl, and he says like, hey, I'm going to set up an answering machine service. If I don't hear from you, then I know everything is good. But if I do, I'm going to check this randomly. If I do, then I know I need to come and help you out. But for now, don't answer, don't call me, just go, just run. And that he is setting her off so that he can kind of do this and clean up. If something goes wrong, he doesn't want her to get caught up in it. So then he takes off to go do the drug buy with Amanda. And Ruben follows. Ruben, Mr. KGB, is always there just watching and tracking things. Gustavo calls Franklin to tell him what's going on and where he's at and what's about to happen. And Franklin can hear that Gustavo's nervous. And then Franklin tells V, like, hey, look, I'm not concerned. I'm not worried. I think everything is going to go according to plan. That said, I do just still have my ducks in a row. I still need to make sure that you and my baby are taken care of. So if you don't hear from me, the second you don't hear from me, I need you to get out the country. I need you to go. I need you to run. I need you to get out of here. And I'm not saying this is going to go sideways, but as a contingency plan, let's make sure we have that as an option. Teddy sits down with Parissa and it just lets her know that like the CIA is no longer an option. They're taking the money, taking the assets, but it'll be us. Once it's all said and done, they give them Franklin. It will be us and we'll be good. And Parissa is like, cool, but I need some type of assurance that you and I are in this together. And he's like, well, what do you need? And she goes to the back and finds and pulls out a ring that she found in the bottom of a drawer of his that he found. And was for a brief moment, Teddy's like kind of pissed, like, yo, you want my stuff? What's going on with you? Going all up in my jam. But then all of a sudden he gets down on her knee and proposes, and they are engaged, which is a wild way to propose because for one brief moment you were very pissed. And the very next moment you're like, well, you know what? Jagged Edge said, we ain't getting no younger, so I guess we might as well do this. So then we see Gustavo and Amanda at the meet, which they're off in the desert road, and we see then Franklin's plane comes in. So we now know why Franklin's plane was asked for. Gustavo put these people in place to sort of make this drug transaction occur, to make it seem like everything is on the up and up and not do the normal thing, because he would have had to go through Teddy to make this occur. And that's not all together. So he's like, well, I'm going to set this up on my own. And in doing so, he becomes a little flippant with the meet because they don't know Amanda and they're kind of like, well, who's this? And Gustavo's like, well, she's a DEA agent. And Amanda kind of freaks out. But it's so flippant that it comes off as a joke. And they just kind of let bygones be bygones. It's like, no, this is my cousin, blah, 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 blah. They get in the car and they take off. That does not sit well with Amanda at all. She goes back to Tony and be like, yo, something's off. Like, he has never been this just cavalier and reckless before. And at that point, Tony's like, cool, I'm going to go continue this meet with him. But you need to go to his house and see what's going on with his family. Just go check in on his family. V drops Franklin off at Louis and Sully, this meet spot, and Louis gets to take out a lot of aggression that she has on him. Now, it's funny because Franklin thinks when he first gets there, he's like, all right, Sully, you ready? And Sully's like, no, this ain't me, man. This ain't me. And she just goes for tat, lets out a lot of pent up frustration on him, to kind of like make it look like that he was beat up to be trapped to feed to Teddy. So then Louis pages Teddy and lets him know that he's got Franklin. And Teddy sort of adjusts the plan a little bit. It's like, yeah, I want to take you to a different spot. And instead of having a swap, I just want you to drop him off and then take off. Franklin's like, it's worth it. It's still worth it. I don't care if it can kind of suss Teddy out. I'm okay with that. As long as I know Oso's got his job taken care of, we're going to be all right. Oh, well, damn. Because same time, Oso's going to meet with Teddy. They're driving, and he gets a page. And that's Franklin's page telling him where to go. Let's do it. So then he pages Franklin to let him know, all right, cool, we're good. And then he pages Teddy so that he can get in touch with Teddy. While this is happening, Tony's getting antsy. Tony's like, you're paging multiple people. Something's wrong. Like, I don't understand what this is. And then Amanda pulls up and lets him know that, hey, look, we don't have access to Oso's family anymore. They're all gone. They hasn't seen them. They saw them leaving out with suitcases. At that point, Tony's like, all right, you're under arrest because you playing a game. You playing damn games on us. And my man's like, who are you talking to? He's like, Teddy. And it actually was Teddy. Because Teddy's like, where are you? Like, be here in 10 minutes. He's like, nah, I can be there in 10. He's like, nope, I need you to be here in 5. He's still planning to go ahead with it. But by this point, plans all messed up. Tony's like, nope, you're under arrest. I don't trust you. I don't believe you. Your family's gone. I'm putting you up under the jail. You've lied to us in so many ways. You're in deep caca. He arrests him, puts him in the jail, and Franklin is in some deep mess. This is when things start like, oh God, how is he going to get out of this? So Louis drops him off and says, goodbye, Franklin, with sort of a smirk. Again, she doesn't care one way or the other what happens to Franklin. She's like, look, these two are going to eat each other. Works for me. I think in a world where she's like, cool, I can be the boss and I have Sully around, then I'm okay. So she's good. Nighttime comes and we see some headlights appear. So another great shot from our director, where Franklin's on the side and you can't quite see what the car is, but you can just see the headlights. And you see the door open and all of a sudden you see the shadow of Teddy come out. And Teddy's got him. And Teddy is like, I didn't think she'd go through with this. But here we are. And Franklin starts to try to plead and beg. Teddy ain't having none of that. He's like, nah, sorry, Franklin, time's up. And he knocks him unconscious. And so the next time that we see Franklin, he is hung up by, it looks like wire, not even rope, by wire and metal, and is on a barricade or on a oil barrel, and is kind of standing up a foot on that. So he doesn't hang himself, but if he does try to move or kick, he's going to end up hanging himself. So it makes him so that he kind of just has to stand there and take it. We'll see a quick scene of V going to premature labor because obviously she's stressed out because she didn't hear from Franklin. So by now the timing it seems a little awful. Maybe she should be on the run because we don't really know what's happening. But Franklin's dead to rights. Teddy is going over the right and telling him, like, look, all that time for apologies. What did you say you was gonna do to my son? Cool. And he's super calm and collected in this. But he's going through his steps of what he wants to do to Franklin. He's gonna numb him so that like he basically goes to sleep, and then he's going to dissolve his body into lie. Jesus. While this is happening, and Tony and Amanda are escorting Gustavo to prison, Ruben comes in and he clips the back of the car that Tony and Gustavo are in. They crash, and then Amanda gets out to go follow in the car and see what's going on, and she gets shot to death for that, for her troubles. And the rest of the car is dead as well. Ruben helps Gustavo out of the car, and he's like, look, Franklin and Teddy are at the warehouse. Let's go finish this meet. Let's finish this job. So just when Teddy's about to inject Franklin with this syringe that's going to basically numb him, which he says, this is too good for you. Like, he shouldn't even do this. But when he's about to inject him with that, Gustavo comes busting in, and Franklin's like, and then Teddy's like, where have you been? Franklin is also like, where the hell have you been? They're both saying it, but he's just verbalizing it. But then right behind him is Ruben with a gun at Gustavo's head. At that point, Teddy still believes that Gustavo is with him. And so he is caring for him in a way like, I don't want him to get hurt. So Ruben's like, hey, put your gun down. So he pulls his gun out, puts it down, tells him to kick it over. And then he has Gustavo chain Teddy up so that his arms are up and around a pole so that he can't get out. And tells him to get the gun that's in his ankle holster. Ruben's like, no, I'm not stupid. Get that one as well. Like, I know he has that. Then a fight ensues because Gustavo finally is like, nope, I'm not doing this. And like, they have a wrestle. You forgot for a moment that Gustavo was a luchador. We got that brought up again at the beginning of this episode for a reason. And he gets the better of the fight. Now in this fight though, the barrel that is holding Franklin up gets kicked out. And so Franklin is actually hanging. Like, he's being hung right now in this moment. And you're kind of like, oh my God, somebody pay attention to Franklin. He is dying right now. Gustavo gets the better of Ruben, and slams his head, and he kills him. And so then Gustavo is still in this moment of just rage and anger, and he's not really realizing what's happening to Franklin. And Teddy's kind of like, yo, Gustavo, come on over. So he's in this is his moment of truth to decide which of these sides he's going to be on. Like, he's going to be on Franklin, he's going to be on Teddy. And I think because Franklin has always, every single time that he has been with Franklin has come through for him. Whether it be with the Tiger, he came back for him. Whether it be getting the passports for his family, he did that for him. Like, Franklin has been a stand-up individual to Gustavo all the time, where Teddy, maybe not. So he sides with Franklin. So he puts the barrel back up under Franklin and lets him down. And at that point, Teddy realizes that, oh crap, Gustavo's with him. And you just sort of see the calmness that was on Teddy has now freaked out, and the smile that shows up on Franklin's face is both filled with happiness and sheer terror, because now he has the one up on Teddy. And that's how we end the episode. Another tense episode, another strong episode called The Ballad of the Bear. It is excellently directed. There's so many shots in here that I like. I like the pullback shot at Louis' office with Louis, Franklin, and Gustavo. I love the headlight sequence. I love even the Parissa and Teddy scene is great in the way that it uses light. It's just a well shot episode, but just also a well written episode. Like, you feel the intensity. It feels like Franklin might be in too much, like he's putting his eggs in a basket that he can't control, and it ends up almost costing him. And luckily he comes in and somehow he just skates by the skin of his teeth. That is pitch perfect writing. And now we're in for the last 2 episodes, and I don't know what happened to Teddy. Like, obviously I think Franklin's going to kill him. I just don't know how many people he's going to have in on this assignment. Like, how many people he's going to call up mom, like, hey mom, come through. Yo, you come through. Everybody come through. We're going to go ahead and slice this bad boy up. Or if Parissa comes their way, like, did Teddy give Parissa a heads up? Like, yo, if I'm gone for a long period of time, I need you to go get to B. Like, who knows what he's not the dumbest. He's going to set up contingency plans. But I think all of this still comes down to Louis, who I absolutely do not trust. I feel like she has set this all up to, like, let the guys fight each other out, and then I'm going to come through at the very end and make my claim to the kingdom, which is going to be interesting. She's already said how many times she wants, how much power she wants, and now that Jerome is gone, who was sort of the one part of heartbeat or thought that sort of could calm her or let her think about things from her. Now that that's gone, she's like, oh, cool, I'm going to do what I got to do and be as manipulative as you were, Franklin. I'm going to do that towards you. So I think in these last 2 episodes, Teddy and Franklin are going to probably end up taking each other out, and Louis is going to be the one left standing. Those are my thoughts. What did you guys think about this episode? And how did you think about the directing job of Mr. Jerome, Uncle Jerome himself? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast by the same name. That's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.